Hello, hello, hello. We are live. I see some familiar faces. I'm sure they're trickling in. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. This is episode 654. I am your host, Stevie V, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. Missing you. How are you? What's going on?
I am doing really good. Thank you. I miss you as well. I am in Puerto Vallarta, enjoying some
Ooh.
sun while I work. We are checking in on the condo that I've talked about that my sister owns here, and really just, maintenance and all that stuff that you have to do when you've got property like this. But it's beautiful. It's warm. We're going on some morning run walks that are just getting me going. For some reason, I wake up a lot earlier here, which is kind of cool, and going to some amazing. We're in the Versailles neighborhood here in Puerto Vallarta,
Mm.
which you've been to. It's known
Yep.
as the gastronomica area, so the food area. And every time we come back, there's some new restaurants. We go to some of our favorite. Message me, anybody out there that is making your way out to Puerto Vallarta, and I will give you a good list of recommendations. As we know, this is a gay hotspot mecca, so we want you to enjoy it and have the best time. I also, yeah, so just enjoying all that. How you doing?
Doing good. Living life, running around, doing my big one. So
Oh,
excited to be on here tonight with you.
yeah, exactly. We've got so many hot topics to get through. We're going to try and get
Oh
through
yeah.
them in the next hour. We have to start on a sad note, as we have been reporting much too much this year of the loss of certain adult performers. The latest one, I hate to even say that, is gay porn star Damien Stone, who died at the young age of 32. That's so young. Multiple family members confirmed his passing. Damien Stone was a prolific performer who began his career in 2017, and he appeared in gay, bisexual, and trans porn scenes until really leaving the studio scene in 2020. He competed in bodybuilding competitions and transitioned to OnlyFans content. He had a huge social media presence, and up until early February, he was posting and looking really good. But sadly, he died of an enlarged heart. And he was born in Moldova, raised here in the US, lived in Pennsylvania for most of his life. He was a versatile performer known for his really good looks. Did you put his picture up there,
Yeah.
Kodi?
There's pictures up.
And yeah, and it's it's really sad too, because like I said, at 32, my gosh, that's just so young. And you know yeah, did you know him, his work at all, Kodi?
I hadn't seen any of his work,
Yeah.
but still, any loss is a loss of our community. So I really, my heart goes out to his family. 32 is very young, so
Oh my God. Yeah,
it must be very hard for him and for his family, because that's
exactly.
a tremendous loss.
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about the Viviennes passing that occurred not that long ago as well. And we reported on the Viviennes dying of a ketamine overdose. And recently, the Vivienne's sister was on a morning UK TV show and was talking about campaigning to have ketamine reclassified in the UK as a Class C drug. And Kodi, I was a little bit wondering, like, what is it classified here in America? And I found out a couple of things. It's a Schedule 3 substance under the Controlled Substance Act, Schedule 3 drugs, which include things like codeine and anabolic steroids. But just to give you a little bit like what it's up against, a Schedule 1 would be things like heroin, and a Schedule 2 would be things like cocaine. So it looks like here in America, and we're going to talk about a few other things related to drugs on this episode, that ketamine is really, maybe in this country as well, should be reclassified as well, because there is so many deaths related to it. I'm glad his sister went on the morning show and was basically saying that, she really wants to make it a class A drug because she feels like her brother, James Lee Williams, who was found dead in their home, that it could have been prevented. And he was very open about his addiction. They thought he was, not using in the last, because he
Mhm.
had a lot of things coming up. He was going to go on tour. Had done musical theater and had a really bright future ahead of him. And so it's, but he was very open about his struggles with ketamine. I mean, when you hear
Yeah.
this and when you hear what his sister is really petitioning, because it really is becoming a big problem. I mean, I have a friend here, Kodi, that said she, here in Puerto Vallarta, that went to
Mhm.
go ask somebody on the corner for a bandage because it was like a pharmacia, and they were offering her ketamine was like the number one choice.
On
And
the street?
on the street, and I watch all those Nat Geo shows that I've been talking about recently on Podcast.
Zebras and stuff, right?
To catch a they're called To Catch a Smuggler, and all of those shows. Yes, cocaine remains the one drug that keeps coming into America, but ketamine really is surpassing it, and it's really proven to be the popular drug of choice, but it's lethal at times. When you hear
Mhm.
all of this, what do you say?
I mean, it's a lot to ingest for sure, but I feel like because of its classification, I feel like people are not taking it as seriously as they should be. Me personally, I do think that I have not taken it as seriously as I am starting to rethink about a lot of different things because, like you said, this is causing serious damage in the community. It's causing deaths that should, for me, I feel like they should not be happening. And it's causing a lot of heartbreak. So I feel like this definitely needs to be looked at. It should probably be up there along with cocaine as far as the classification is concerned. But I'm not really familiar with it. I've never done this. I think I've been around people who have been doing it, and I really am not sure what the 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 side effects are of it because I just am not really familiar with it. So this
Well,
is
long
something I'm
term,
going to be looking into.
yeah, long-term effects, which I was reading up on, can include things like urinary tract issues to do with all of that area, and it's just not really good. I would also suggest, I mean, a lot of the stuff is laced with fentanyl, and you can
Mm.
easily get fentanyl strips in Amazon, and you can test if you are going to partake. I mean, at the very least, test your drugs, but it is
Well, do you know?
seemingly.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you know how addictive it is? Like maybe that's something I should be looking up too because
Yeah, I mean, I
uh,
think it can be. I mean, we know that Matthew Perry died of ketamine. We know that it's been around for years. We know that it's become more and more prevalent within our community, and we know that people are dying from it. And so
mhm,
I think those numbers alone should cause for concern, as it is the popular drug of choice and on the streets right now, and within our community at least. And I just think, we just need to put those words out there, because I'm really happy, though, that his sister is out there pushing for it to be a class A drug in the UK. And maybe we need to
likewise.
push for that in America to be from a three to at least a two, like cocaine, perhaps, and for its potential risk factors. Okay, moving on from the Vivians. Sadly, it's lastly, there's a really interesting story out there, and it's of a out in Phoenix. There is a Mark. It was Marcus Frieber who died recently as well, and he was a very prolific. He was 45, yoga instructor, dedicated his life to yoga. He had tons of clients. He was using yoga, though, and developing his own methodology on it. He had a
Mhm.
lot of clients. He was very happy. He had a dog. He was known within the community and sadly, tragically found dead in a rock quarry. His father has said that this is so strange and wants more investigations. And the reason why we're talking about it is if anybody knows anything, we'll give more information at the end of this particular story. But he drove a 2021 GMC Sierra 2500 pickup truck, and that has vanished. He was an avid dog lover and had an adorable little dog. I'm not sure if we have that picture that we could put up with him and his dog, but he was left his dog in his house unattended for up to 5 days, and that was really unheard of for him because he would have
That
never
is.
done that. Yeah, and his adorable dog there that he is with um, jumped into a quarry, and it doesn't add up. What we do know is that he was going on a blind date, and that's all we know. That's the last we heard about him, but it's really, we say this because if anybody has any information about Marcus's disappearance, they ask you to contact the Phoenix Police Department. I can give that number right now at 602-534-2121. We can put it on tagspodcast.com. But really a life cut too short of somebody in our community that was seemingly really wanting to move on and to, you know, give back to the
Improve the community.
community. Yeah,
Yeah.
and loved his life. And, I just think if anybody knows anything, we need to also put that information out there too.
Yes,
So
I
yeah,
agree.
no. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Staying on drugs, I know it's not, we have some fun topics coming up too, but there is a new research out in the UK, and I would imagine it would reflect similarly in America, but that shows that 75% of queer people don't consider chemsex a serious issue. And actually, 16% had never even heard of the word chemsex. And if you haven't heard of the word chemsex, then we should probably be talking about it. Chemsex, if you don't really know what it is the concept of having sex under the influence of certain drugs. And there was a recent Reddit thread that asked the question, "What drugs do you think of as the term chem in chemsex?" Well, as many people know, crystal meth is the drug. But I would also say, Kodi, wouldn't you say things like GHB and also what we were just talking about, ketamine?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know and what I am used to, the most impactful chem in the chem sex world, as far as that's concerned, would be crystal meth. And that is something that I have seen people do before. And
Yeah.
I may or may not have had sex with them in while they were on crystal meth. Just one
No,
time.
I have, and
But
for sure.
yeah.
It's no joke, and I think the problem is there's been some good documentaries out there. I'll try and find some of those. There was one in particular about somebody that went down a rabbit hole. He turned his life around though, and
Mhm.
talks a lot about this particular documentary about chemsex and how for some it can go down that rabbit hole where you lose days on end. You don't even know what day
Mm.
it is. Other people have said they've done it and they're fine. You just don't know. The
Yeah.
problem
How
is,
you're gonna
Cody,
react.
yeah, and the problem is how much are you doing and how much more do you want to do are some of the questions I think should be asked. But at least in this research that was done in the UK, commissioned by the nonprofit Controlling Chemsex in partnership with Opium, showed that 75% of queer people in the UK do not consider chemsex to be a serious issue, despite reality stories of chemsex related deaths, and they're becoming more prevalent. I'll give you a few more numbers. Results show of a survey of 2,000 people showed that 34% of queer people say they aren't familiar with it, and 16% answered that they had never even heard of the word. But further research on an ITV documentary showed that 3 people a month were dying from chemsex related issues in London alone, and that London ambulance services were reporting one call out per day related to chemsex. Beyond the queer community, it is a little bit different. But just for our community, when you hear those numbers, Kodi, what's your response?
I mean, it's very alarming. So, and we know because we have friends that work in various nightlife
Yeah,
places that a lot of times the ambulance has to be called for certain spots, and they're getting carted out of there in ambulances. So this is way more prevalent than a lot of people are willing to admit. And you
yeah,
were mentioning all the reasons for this. And I watched a little bit of the podcast that was in the article, and what the doctor was saying that the reasons are um, they're varied, but one of the main reasons is that self-esteem. And I feel like a lot of self-esteem is why these people go and they use these drugs in order to overcome a lot of insecurities so that they're able to have sex. Maybe it's something about their body that they're insecure about, or maybe it's something, their shyness, that they are insecure about. But I think that we need to be addressing all of that before we even try and tackle this, because I feel like the addiction part is definitely a mental health issue that we need to be addressing in our community.
yeah. You raised some really good points, and one of the things that you're kind of talking to is when you go to some of these parties is the addiction level. A lot of people don't know if they are potentially addicted, and we've had people on the show, authors that have talked about how they've gone down that rabbit hole of chemsex and how they lost days on end and were fired from their jobs, and it really just affected everything and they almost died. And that's how
Yeah.
serious it can ultimately get, or like they're reporting, are dying. I think that that's kind of, you need to be aware of it. You need to know when you are going to some of these parties, sex parties, that some of these potential substances might be going on. If you are going to partake in some of these substances, you shouldn't just do them willy-nilly. You should actually, we're not here to judge whether or not you do any of
Oh
these
yeah.
substances or not.
No.
It's just that there are cases, at least in this study. We are live, and Bryce asked the question, do poppers count for chemsex? We're going to talk about poppers in just a second. And another story, I would say no, it doesn't count as. Oh, however, the FDA here in America is clamping down on that, and many poppers brands are going under.
Is it
RFK
America?
Jr. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but no, I wouldn't say poppers counts as chemsex, although it is potentially a risky inhalant that you can do,
Yeah.
and it affects
I mean,
everybody a little bit differently.
exactly. But I personally, I think it's a little bit lighter than a lot of other things we're already talking about. So for me, something I wanted to bring up, I feel like I read in the article also that a lot of these parties, the chem was the main event there. I feel like the sex was kind of an
Yes.
afterthought. And for me, it's wild to think that you would go to a chem sex party and not have sex, that you would just go to do the drugs. So that part was really surprising to me. And again, I don't judge. I just am alarmed by it, because for me, I would be there to have all of the sex. So
Well, and you know what I just thought about based on what Bryce was saying and what you were saying too, and what we don't really think about is not everyone's health, not everyone knows their current health status. So, in other words,
Mhm.
not everyone has regularly gone to their doctor and gotten blood work and done their physical. And even if you are doing that, things change. I go
Yeah.
yearly, but not everybody. So then you take drugs and partaking in any substance for that matter, other than complete sobriety, and you lace in sex, everybody's not going to respond to the drug the same way. Everybody's
Yes.
different, but everybody's health is not the same. And if you don't know what your health currently is and how you are, you might have heart problems that you didn't even know about. If that's why it's so important to be diligent about getting your physicals, and if you can, go to your doctor, especially as you get older. But I mean, if people are dying at 32, like we're reporting on, then you're partaking in substances, and I just say not it's not an equal playing field, and not everybody is coming to the party, if you will, with the same health status, and that can
Yeah.
affect certain outcomes, sadly, that we are reporting on. And so,
Yeah. And at
if
the
you
end of the
are
day,
going to yeah,
we're just concerned for everybody's safety. That's the
correct.
main point of this. Yeah. So what were we gonna say?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Just that I think,
Oh,
basically what you were saying. So,
come on,
yeah,
wavelength. Get it.
I know. Exactly. All right. Let's switch gears to a show that everybody seems to be talking about. It's on Hulu. It's called Mid-Century Modern. Diego, if you're out there, do not watch it yet until we are together. We have to do that now. Now that I'm in a relationship, it's like
Oh,
I
boyfriend rules. There we
I mean,
go.
apparently I gave him the okay to watch the current episode of White Lotus, and I will watch
Oh
it on
no.
my. I know because I'm away, so it's okay. But yeah, I'm putting that out there to Mid-Century Modern it with me. And first off, give your review because we were talking about it on the last episode, and Jeremy was said he really likes it. Some people on a Reddit thread were saying that it's nothing like the Golden Girls. Okay, it was never supposed to be exactly like the Golden Girls. It's
Right.
just a new interpretation with gay men. We're going to talk about why we're bringing it up right now, but what's your initial review?
All right. So the review goes like this. I haven't finished the season yet, but it starts off a little bit like they're finding their footing, right? Everybody is fantastic. Everybody knows their lines, everybody is doing their work,
Well, I hope
but
they
as
know
it
their
moves
lines. They're all
on,
professional actors.
can you imagine? And they were like, just
but
keep it in. You don't have to
can I
know.
just stop you on that one point because it
Go
is
ahead.
shot like the old school Will and
Yeah.
Grace. It has a
Yeah.
live studio audience, and by that, it's not one camera; it's several cameras, and it's that laughing that you're going to hear. It sounds like a laugh tracks, but it's actually in the audience,
It's
and
live. Yeah.
it's got that old school that we don't really see a lot of those types of shows anymore. Correct? And I didn't always used to
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
them, but it is shot in
And
that
can I
way. And
say,
people, yeah.
yeah, can I say that that did take a little bit getting used to because all our shows now are they're given to us, they're packaged in a different way, and this was kind of jarring to get back into that whole live studio audience type of feel where they were actually laughing and clapping in a live setting. So that part, I think that it was a little bit jarring. So maybe it was me trying to find my footing. So I think maybe it was both of us and we both have issues that we need to be working out in therapy. No. um no. So I when once we both got our issues all worked out, everything was perfect. I started laughing out loud.
Oh,
Man,
that's a great sign.
Nathan Lane is hilarious. I meant to look up the other guy, the black guys,
Yeah,
his name.
I could do
Uh
it for you while you continue giving your review, and then we can move. Yeah, because I
Nathan
want
Lee
to.
Graham is his name. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he is hilarious too. I feel like, and I'm going to be honest here. I feel like Matt Bomer really had to really stretch to get his character 100% right because he's supposed to be the ditzy one, and I don't think he's that dumb, and I don't think that he is really grasped how to make his character sexy and dumb and
Well,
ditzy. I don't
it's really
think.
funny you say that because I saw him on Broadway, Matt
Mhm.
Bomer, in Boys in the Band a few years back, and it was all-star gay cast. It had so many amazing people in it, and he played the ditzy cowboy character that was from the
Did he?
original. Yeah, and maybe that's why they cast him in this because he's been doing a lot of serious roles as of recent. He is
And
a
he's
great actor.
fantastic.
He's
Yeah.
fantastic. I remember interviewing him on the red carpet, and he was so kind and nice to me to do. I couldn't get my camera right. I was alone, and normally I was at that time. My sister and I had a small production company, and
Mhm.
they were doing a table read on stage, and he was one of the actors, and he waited for me to get my camera right to frame him and then get myself in front of the camera and interview him, and he was honestly, staring in those gorgeous blue eyes, he was so kind. Give him a minute. I'm
Right.
sure he can do it.
Right.
But okay, but is it a yay or a nay for
I
you?
I adore it. And trust me, I
Okay.
adore Matt Bomer. Fellow Travelers is one of my favorite
Yeah.
TV shows, and he's fantastic in that. But I think he was just finding this character, fleshing it out a little bit. But I think right now he's starting to grasp it. And I think I have like 2 more episodes left, so I can't wait to watch those as well. So I give it a hard 8 out of 10.
That's really good. I'm going to watch it. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to watch it. Mid-Century Modern, though, one of the reasons we brought it up was
And I have a
they're
hard
not
8
going
to
to be
give.
tackling any political issues. And this is according to the Crow creators, David Cohen and Max Munchnick. Max Munchnick is responsible for Will and Grace. And little sidebar, when I moved to LA in the late 90s, I worked at a Todd Tramp's personal training gym, and I worked
Oh
behind the
shit.
desk. It was my first job there. And I was trying to become a trainer. But before I could do that, I didn't know anybody. And I worked behind the desk, checking people in for spin class and so forth. And there was a lot of celebrities. It was one of those early trainer gyms. Now there's a million of them that I
Yeah.
worked at. And Max, creator of Will and Grace, came in there like a speed demon road runner, like spinning around, and it was right as he was creating Will and Grace. And so, but
Oh
he's got
wow.
legs, and to be doing this is great, and I'm so happy. Here's what they said though about why they didn't necessarily want it political. Quote, I think that these guys can still be in the world, and it doesn't have to be bullshit, but we don't have to talk about the White House. And that was by Max. Our job is to create an escape portal where you can just laugh, feel good, and feel like you're in this familiar space. And I kind of like that idea that they're not being so political. But in our meeting that we do for this show, you said that one of the episodes actually seemed a little political to you.
So, spoiler alert, if you guys are
Oh,
watching
yeah.
this or listening
Don't
to
give away
this,
too much,
skip
though.
skip a little head forward. One of the episodes, they live next door to a congresswoman or something of that nature, and they get very. She is Republican, so she's voting against their
Not
interests, but
Linda
she
Lavin.
likes them. It's not Linda
Okay.
Lavin. Oh my gosh, she's
I
a,
love
a genius. She was a genius.
Alice.
Rest in peace, my darling.
Oh,
She is so funny. I could not contain
love
myself,
Linda
but
Lavin.
very, very funny lady. So, but yeah, the woman that lives, I don't know her name, but she's a congresswoman, and she is voting against their interests, and they finally convince her into that they're human as well, and they kind of change her. So I felt like that was a very political statement that they were
Well,
making. So it
I
kind of
think,
surprised me to hear this.
yeah, I mean, that is a little surprising based on, I think what they were alluding to is we're not going to be talking about any of the current politics that are disseminating from the current administration and
Exactly. I
things,
think,
that
yeah.
kind of thing. But I was telling on episode 653 here in Puerto Vallarta a whole story. If you want to listen to it, I go into great detail about a Canadian that was questioning me when
Oh yeah.
I said about, oh, is your girlfriend back home? And I said, and I showed them my phone. I said, it would be my boyfriend. And then we got into
Bloop.
this whole thing that was really, he told me that gays, oh, I'm okay with gays, not trans. I'll let you listen to the whole episode where I talk about this. But he basically said, but it's basically a choice, right? And I said, no, it's not a choice. And I'm not going to redo this whole story, but episode 653. So I can see where mid-century modern would go into some of these details, and because they're all these three men living in this condo, apartment, house, whatever it is, and
In Palm
you
Springs.
do, and in Palm Springs. And guess what? I'm in another gay mecca, Puerto Vallarta, thinking, oh, I don't want to see that. I'm not going to see any of that stuff. And yet I did. And that's why I think
Yeah.
it's a relevant storyline that can happen, even when people have different political viewpoints. It's like, wow. So I can't wait for that episode, Kodi, because
I want
yeah,
I want to be there when you watch it so that
I
we
know.
can
I'm
like
excited to
dissect
watch
it a little
it.
bit more.
Yeah, for
It
some
really is a
reason,
funny show.
I
Nathan
can't wait.
Lane?
Oh, come
cracks
on now.
me
Birdcage.
up.
All we have to say is
Hilarious.
birdcage, 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 and a million other things. Yeah, we could just go on and on. But
I
I,
was in here
unfortunately,
giggling like a schoolgirl.
yeah, I can't get it here in Mexico, but we'll watch it when I get back
Yeah.
home. Okay. Well, we were talking about poppers a minute ago and how basically the FDA invaded Double Scorpio. Double Scorpio produces some of the best and, you know, well, poppers in general, and they got raided by by the FBI, I believe, and had to shut down. Well, that has been a current theme right now, and if you think about Troye Sivan, who had the number one single for a while called Rush and made a whole song about it, he actually went on record saying, Troy, reacting by saying, I felt the rush, an allusion to his former hit, his album,
And he had
and
a heartbroken heart beside it too.
yeah, yeah. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, Double Scorpio, who produced some of the most popular poppers, ceased all production after the FDA raided their offices in Austin, Texas. And there's really no other information as to why. Some can speculate, is it because RFK is now ahead of, he said that he believed that poppers caused things like AIDS back in the day, but that how detrimental. We've heard studies that say poppers can be detrimental in many ways, and there's just not enough research out there. But I don't know. How do you feel about what's going on with the whole poppers shutdown and Troye Sivan, who had a whole hit album based on Rush and talking about poppers
I blame him. I blame Troye Sivan 100% for
for
alerting
making
the
it
streets
mainstream,
for alerting the straights to the joys
getting a
of poppers.
Grammy
Actually,
nomination and ruining it for all us gays. And
and
now we have to
he
sit there while
ruined
he's
it.
like, broken heart. Well, damn it,
It's
you did
all
it
his
to us,
fault.
Troy. You made it mainstream.
Exactly. I'm coming to find you, and
You went
we're
on
gonna have
tour
some
with
words.
Charlie XCX, the hottest thing since,
Sliced bread.
yeah,
Yeah. You know what? I can't blame Troy. We should have
no,
been gatekeeping poppers a lot better, personally.
yeah,
Uh, but RFK, he is a backward ass man, and once people come to their senses again, the straight girlies are not going to let us not have poppers in this world. So they're going to tell their men who are in the Senate that we need poppers back, and it's going to come back. I understand this is just for a short time, and I have hope for the future that poppers will be. I don't even really do poppers that much. It makes me soft. So I am, yeah, I'm not
well,
hurt by this,
I was
but my
telling
bottoms
you,
need it. So,
bottoms often needed. My boyfriend Diego, fiance, I should say, actually
oh,
likes them. And Diego and I decided to do a little research the other day. And I told this story on one of our episodes where we went to the one on 8th Avenue in New York, which is one of those gay sex shops, the ones where you kind of feel like you've done something wrong and you haven't done anything wrong, but just the seediness of it all. And you walk in and like the counter's like 10 feet tall and they're staring down at you like the minute you walk in, like, where are you going? What are you looking at?
I'm
What did
going to the
you
back.
I know.
Going to the
I hate
arcade.
I hate that feeling so much. But anyways, we decided to see our poppers being sold here still. And can I tell you, there was every brand under the sun. It had not trickled down yet to
Yeah.
the store, if you will. And so, well, sadly, is it Black Scorpio is being rated? I mean, I don't know, but it hasn't yet trickled down to the consumer. My boyfriend really
Mm,
likes using them. I have enjoyed using them myself, of course. When he does, he'll often pass it to me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. And I could take it or leave it, but it is a fun moment, and we don't do it all the
yeah.
time. But yeah, I'm here for it.
So, so Bryce says there's going to be a double Scorpio and Rush Underground. I'm thinking We should buy up all the poppers and then we should make our own underground so that they could pay double the price for us.
Oh, wow. Exclusive brand packaging. Yeah, I like
We should
that.
make some tags poppers and have it as our underground.
Listen, we're not getting into this business right now.
Come
At least not in the
on.
next four
Prohibition all
years.
over again.
Oh my God. Are we in prohibition? Is that what we're saying? I mean, maybe
Yes,
we are.
it
Yeah.
is.
I don't
Prohibit
know.
poppers.
I mean, it feels like that. Okay. Well,
Popper's
yeah.
I'm gonna workshop that. We're gonna have something by the end of the week.
Okay, I really like that. There was a story that was brought to me, none other than Diego, and it's an older story, but it's worth telling now that they're in Los Angeles, in the Silver Lake area. Back in the day, it was basically by, I'm trying to get the area, a cruising area in LA that basically was cited, and it was known for its cruising areas. Griffith Park, iconic Griffith Park in Silver Lake, back in the day, had a lot of cruising going on, and it still does to a degree. But in the 90s, there was all these signs that were erected, no U-turns, and actually no cruising signs as well. Cruising has had different meanings throughout the years. Cruising has meant like just cruising along a boulevard in your car, and I don't know, would the word be loitering? Just Kodi, I guess. But I don't know. How would you describe cruising in that response?
Maybe loitering. I think
Loitering, yeah,
loitering
I
would
think
be.
that's what it really was.
I
Well, all of these signs went up back in that day because many of the straight people that lived in there didn't like that gays were coming into the area and loitering, cruising, whatever you want to call it. And they erected all of these signs, and I'm talking about in the 90s, all these signs that had to say no cruising, no U-turns, because technically at that time, if you were to make a U-turn, you would not just get cited for it at a certain hour. We're talking about like hours in the evening. You would get arrested. Arrested, Kodi. And can you believe that?
wait.
Well,
So U turns as a pedestrian walking? No U turns were
no,
allowed. You had
in
to
your
continue the
car.
path.
No, in your car.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a New
But
Yorker.
but arrested. Is that
Yeah,
crazy? I mean,
ridiculous. That
yeah.
is
And
ridiculous.
it and although in 2011 there was a concerted effort to remove some of these signs because it was actually targeting our community, it was very homophobic, and whether or not it just had a bad taste in many within our community that said these signs represented a time and a place that said that we didn't want you around, we didn't want your behavior around. And that just didn't sit well with a lot of people. And in 2011, they got rid of many of these signs, but not all of them. There was still about a dozen signs that were still up. And recently, or as of last year, there was a man that moved to the area, the Silver Lake area, that heard a podcast and learned the history of this, and he actually went to city council, LA city council members, and told the whole history of this and was able to have these last remaining dozen signs removed, which I think is really cool. They did a whole event last June on this with performances about why this was wrong and so on and so forth. And I think it's a lesson. First of all, I think the stigma that was surrounded by this, that was finally removed for this community, is amazing. But beyond that, Kodi, I think what's really amazing is when you think you can't make a change or anything, and they always say write into your congressman, write into your senator, write into your local city council, because it's often, this is a prime example. I mean, I'm taking this advice for myself as I spout it out, that within my own community, if there's something that I don't like, change can happen if you actually write into your local. This is when to get involved in politics. But when you heard this story about what went on, why these were erected, why it was stigmatizing a community for all of these years, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I see all the points. I think that this was something that was very pointed at our community, and how it really just uh, chose to villainize us
Target.
out in
Yeah.
the world and target us and make sure that we were shamed and silenced all at the same time. So I'm so happy that this has been, that they're taking all these signs down, that they're doing the good work, and that they're really putting themselves out there. I 100% agree with you that this is now is a time for us to make our voices heard as a people and as a community. Like I said, I just went to a march on Monday,
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
it it was something that was very important to me, and I'm so glad that I went by myself. I asked other people to go with me, and they had various things that they had to do, and I understood. But do everything that you can to make sure that you are having your voice heard, because the other side, they're doing all that they can in order to make sure that you are silenced and that their agenda is being is top priority. So get out there and do your thing. Write to your senator. All you have to do is you can do that from home. So, or get out in these streets, honey, because I'll be there with you.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you did. I love when we talk about community, oftentimes we're talking about gay community, oftentimes we're talking about LGBTQ community. But what we also mean about community is your local community, wherever you reside. And often that's how you can make those important changes. Forget about the macular and the large that often seems daunting and insurmountable about making any difference when you turn on the news. But when you really look into your own particular community and the changes that you could actually make on a local, small level, that's when you should get involved. Get involved in those kind of communities that I think is so, it will resonate and will make a difference, and you will feel good. And you'll also meet people along the way too. We always talk about
You know what?
loneliness and how not knowing people, you meet people when you connect on these levels. And that's kind of remarkable and amazing. And it sounds so simple, but you were going to say what?
I was gonna say I went to a march in DC. I'm gonna age myself. Anyway, it was a while ago, and I met really good people there. I really need to call them and say how they're doing, because we really forged a bond. We fell out of touch because, boyfriends, life, things of
No,
that
but
nature.
yeah,
Yeah, but we talk
beautiful.
periodically. I really want to reach out to them and see how they're doing, because we need to
I
fight
love
more.
it. Absolutely, we do. And a little bit of health news. We wanted to report on something. There's a new study that finds a link between HPV and cardiovascular disease. HPV increases the chances of certain types of cancers later in life. And there's this new study that reveals a significant link, like I said, to cardiovascular disease. And it's according to research presented at the American College of Cardiology scientific session. People who have had an HP infection at some point, and according to one of my doctors, many of us have,
Hmm.
in life show a 40% greater likelihood of developing cardiovascular disease and twice the risk of developing coronary artery disease. The increase was still 33% when other factors such as high blood pressure, lifestyle, and family history were taken out of consideration. But it's a good reminder that if you haven't, I got an HPV vaccination really maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, when it was Dr. Goldstein, the good doctor, the proctologist that has been on our show several times, but it's going to come back on
Love them.
soon, recommended
Oh,
it and gave it to me. It was a booster shot that I got in my bum, and then another 6 months later that I got the second one at the time, and one of our former co-hosts got the same thing too. But we
nice.
always
I
talk
was going to
about,
ask if there was an anal option.
yes, there is that. Good
There is an anal
point.
option. We love an anal option, honey.
Absolutely. But the number of people acquiring HPV should fall following the introduction of the HPV vaccine that was introduced in '06. So, you know, you hear about children getting it and how HPV might already be in our systems. And that's what my doctor told me. But it's something to just to consider. Your doctor may now consider giving you it, and some insurances are actually finally covering it, which hasn't been the case in several years. So this is a good change. This is something to be aware of. Have a conversation with your doctor. And that's all we got to say about that. But yeah,
Right.
so absolutely. Oh my gosh. And in today's digital world, my goodness, there is an app that I didn't know about. In our meeting, you're like, why was I known about this? But I'm glad you didn't join it, Kodi, because
Me
it would
too.
put your information out there potentially. I'm talking about Gay Daddy 40 plus date and chat app. That's the full name. I didn't just make all that up, which markets itself as a safe and discreet space for older LGBTQ individuals to connect. Well, unfortunately, it suffered a massive data breach. It wasn't just technical failure, it was a complete breakdown of trust. On January 7th of this year's Cyber News research team uncovered really a huge flaw. The app's Firebase instance was leaking over 50,000 user profiles and 124,000 private messages. Firebase is basically a tool used by developers for data storage and real time features, had no authentication requirements, leaving sensitive data completely exposed. So think of things like names, ages, HIV status, locations,
Mm.
photos, personal messages have all been available to anyone with basic technical knowledge. And when asked about this of the CEO, they didn't respond at all. But Kodi, this hasn't
Wow.
just happened with that particular one. It's happened with other marginalized communities that are using things like BDSM people, Chica, Trans Love, and Pink have all faced similar issues, exposing private photos and sensitive data. And the reason why we talk about this is not, I mean, I feel like most of our data is out there, but it's really the focus of this story. And what I thought was really interesting is that it's these, like I said, marginalized communities that their information, particularly in this climate right now, are being exposed to potentially anybody, hackers and all.
Oh, yeah, I hear you, and I definitely can see where you're coming from with that, and it's really scary, and I feel like a lot of these marginalized communities, for me personally, it looks like and it feels like they have less protections on it. Like, I could not see a grinder having this sort of issue, but
Yeah.
if it did, then all my stuff would be gone, and I I would be in deep and serious trouble. So, I think that I am glad that I did not find out about this 40 plus dating app before, because all of my information would be out there right now, and all my nudes would be out there, and I would be in a very precarious situation. So my heart goes out to the people that were affected by this, because having your data leaked is not a trivial thing. It's very, very serious. And I hope that they're doing what they can do in order to overcome this, because it's something that is it's hard to get over, because I get all these phone calls all the time from scammers and things of that nature, and it's hard to really weed out what is real and what is fake, and when
Yeah.
somebody's trying to get over you, and it can happen at any moment.
Absolutely. We got to move on because we only have so much time. I want to remind everybody, and there's a link for those watching us right now below our screen. You can always go to our Tags Patreon community. Just grab a free account and you'll get behind the scenes content that you won't get anywhere else. But tomorrow, I am releasing a bonus episode that you will only get by joining our
Ooh.
Tags Patreon community and grabbing a tier. And when you grab a tier, you are supporting the show you've known to come and love. And we really rely on and thank you for that support. It helps us out in so many ways. You can go to you can go to patreon.com/tags podcast, patreon.com/tags podcast. And you can also buy individual posts too. So if you don't want to like join the tier tomorrow when I release that bonus episode, you can just grab that and just buy that one. And you're still supporting TAGSPodcast. All right, let's move
Love
on
it.
because we only got a little bit more time and we want to get some of these in. Yesterday, or excuse me, when the show dropped, our episode 653, we were talking about gay relationship expert and psychotherapist Rick at Rick underscore Matthews, and it's RIC underscore Matthews. He is a personal friend of mine, but he is really focuses on gay relationships. I will put the link in my tagspodcast.com, episode 654. He's New York based psychotherapist with a relationship expertise. And we talked with Jeremy Ross Lopez and Kodi last episode on some of these, but we thought we didn't make the whole list, and we thought we'd do at least one of them. Let's do
Cool.
one of them. Are you there, Kodi? Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I there? Am I not there? I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. Here
Okay.
was number 9 was one of them. The person asking Rick was when he won't, meaning somebody in your relationship, when he won't even think about trying to broaden your sexual horizons as a couple, he's set with the ways things are, and that's that. Meaning the sex is the way it is, and he's not being adventurous, or maybe you have some things you wanted to try, and it's just business as usual. This is what Rick had to say, and then we'll discuss. Well, part of the zeitgeist now is that, particularly for queer gay relationship, there's this expectation of openness and consensual non-monogamy. A lot of people struggle with that because they're not interested in it, but they feel peer pressure to be that. It becomes a point of contention because everyone is like that. Then I have to be that way. And if I'm not rigid, and if I'm rigid, there's something wrong with me. The history of the queer narrative is fuck the rules, anything goes. But we find ourselves in a different time, and people now question, is non-monogamy the way I want to be? But they're often asking these questions in shame because there's pressure that you have to be this way or you're stuck in this way. And that really resonated with me too, because I do feel there's this common denominator that, oh, if you're in a gay relationship, it's completely open. And people often don't know the dynamics of that particular relationship. And when you do meet somebody, Kodi, that says they are monogamous, we're often like, oh, we're all clutching our pearls or our
Yeah.
jock straps because we're like, really? I don't believe you. But we shouldn't. I think he brings up a good point. We shouldn't just
Oh yeah.
I think it's great that for those that are in open relationships, I have this conversation with in my relationship all the time. And when you do have an open relationship or you're exploring that, you have to talk about it so much more because things like jealousy come into the picture. And so I think we should not just normalize non-monogamy, but that we should also embrace monogamy as well and
Yeah.
not stop clutching our jock straps.
I agree with you. I think that everybody is different. And for some people, ethical non-monogamy works, and monogamy works for other people. So I think if you are going the non-monogamous route, then for me, I feel like it would be a lot easier for you to get over that hump that comes from having the same dick all of the time. For monogamous couples, you have to get a little bit more inventive. So I think that's what he was trying to get at. That when you are in a monogamous relationship, you have to do more work, and you can't just be okay with the same sex that you're having all of the time. You have to explore your fantasies, explore your boundaries, and really, I see you waving over there, and really get to the root of, and just have fun with sex. Just have fun with sex. What were you going to say, babe?
Well, I raised my hand because when you said the thing about work, I think there's work to do.
I got
Vanessa
work to do.
Williams
Like
and
Vanessa
Isley
Williams.
Brothers, but there is work to do in both monogamous and non-monogamous relationships because in the monogamous relationships, you're right. You have to keep it spicy. I think that you need to find and have conversations about what's interesting to make it really interesting. When you have sex, but it is also work to be in a non-monogamous relationship too,
It
because
is.
what
I
does
agree.
that look like?
I don't know.
Are
Right.
we playing together? Are we playing separately? When does this happen? Is it in our apartment? Are we there's all kinds of things that come up and jealousy and so forth. So all of it is relationships are work.
Work.
And but they're beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful mess. And so, yeah, uh-oh.
Uh-oh, here come the
On that
waterworks. Let's
note,
move on.
yeah, let's give some quick advice. And we love giving advice on the show. And you can always ask us for advice. And I'm talking about sex and relationship advice. We will give our handle at the end of the show, or simply go to TAGSPodcast.com and reach us via the website. This comes from Reddit, and they asked the question, do you have multiple friends with benefits? They wrote, I originally hooked up with two guys after chatting for a couple of weeks. We have become friends with benefits. Sounds good. Separately, not threesomes. I just came out a year ago, and there are things I want to try that they do not want to try. They are both giving me orders on what I can and cannot do with others. They have both given me permission to suck and be sucked, but am I only allowed to fuck them exclusively? Is this normal, or did I find a couple of flakes, or am I the flake? I'm on prep. Wow. We're going to give this guy somewhat of a pass because he is new and newly open. This is not normal to have orders from a friends with benefit. Would you not agree with that? Can I get an
No.
amen?
Amen, honey. Amen.
Friends with benefit is
Wild.
supposed to be fun, and I've had some over the years. And listen, if you're available, they'll reach out. I'll reach out. You have to just know that they are not your boyfriend. You are not with them. But when you do get together and it happens to work out and the Zeke guys, hey, enjoy it, because chances are it's going to be fun. And you can escalate a friends with benefits at times and try new things with them, tell them what you want, and get yourself prepared for the actual relationship, or simply just enjoy it for what it is. Don't get overly romantic with that
What?
FWB. And I just
I'm
say
good
no,
on that.
don't do that. Enjoy the time that you have, but no orders should be had or being given. You do not work for them. Sorry. What do you say in
Yes,
these last
I
few
agree with
minutes?
you. For friends, you don't give your friends orders. You accept your friends and you love your friends. And sometimes with your friends with benefits, you fuck your friends. And I believe that you can have as many friends with benefits as you want. Jasmine Sullivan taught me a wonderful lesson in life to where I have to accumulate a roster. And that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. I got a roster, and if one of them says no, then I go move to the next one. And then you know what? Everybody can get a piece right now. So call me if you're single and you're ready to mingle. All right.
I'll never forget early on in the dating process with Diego, I saw him at the New York Eagle, and I was with some friends of mine. It was like a holiday weekend or something going on, and I saw Diego, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you!" And he was a little bit different. Like his persona was a little bit different at the time, and it turns out he was with somebody, his friends with benefit at the time, but he was so honest with me about it and I was like, oh, okay. And I ran out of there, but I appreciated, well, anyway, I got him in the end. And so,
Well,
yeah, but yeah, I'll never forget
that's all that
that.
matters.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. I could do this with you all night long.
All night,
You can
even when we're
follow,
fine.
thank you, live virtual audience. You can follow Kodi on Instagram at Mr. Maurice, or on his Blue Sky account at the same handle at Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Stevie, or go to my Blue Sky or X account at Tags Podcast, and you get a preview of my Just for Fans or OnlyFans. In the meantime, continue having hot gay
Hot
sex.
gay sex.